Good morning. I'm Reverend Dr. Marion Stewart. It is my pleasure to serve this congregation as senior minister. As we begin our time together, let us take a deep breath. We are in the last brutal phase of the pandemic, even as winter and holidays approach. I am grateful for the ability to be together safely online. This morning, I am particularly grateful to Tom Bowell and Brad Lepper, Ohio State archaeologist, for enlarging my understanding of this area's native history. To that end, I have updated our opening to include a more detailed history of Native Americans in this area and updated the timeline. On this day and every day, we acknowledge the land that we are on, that Native Americans inhabited for at least 14,000 years. In central and southern Ohio, long before white people came, native groups traversed, hunted, fished, and farmed near the Scioto and Olentangy rivers. A large burial mound near High Street and Mound Street was built by the Dina culture between 800 BCE and 100 CE. Other native groups lived here as well. In the 1770s, members of the Seneca Cuyahoga Nation established a village on the banks of the Scioto River near present-day Columbus. Under the Indian Removal Act of 1830, native tribes in central Ohio were forcefully removed to the lands west of the Mississippi River. Under our flower arrangement today, behind me, you'll see a black cloth draped. It is for Thanksgiving Day, a day that many Native Americans recognize the death of so many that died in the forceful removal by white people. On top of the black, if you can see it, there's also a brightly colored red cloth from indigenous people from Central America. Let's just take a moment on this Thanksgiving Day week to actually hold all of that history. All of that history. It is in us. It is in our history. And now, as we continue to breathe deeply, I invite you to center yourself as we listen to Nathan play our prelude.
Thank you, Nathan. Good morning. My name is Kelly McNeil, and I serve as the Director of Congregational Life here at First Unitarian Universalist Church of Columbus. It is so very good to be with you again. I hope you all are doing well on this holiday week. I know many of us might have had to make difficult decisions about whether to gather with family or not. I had that difficult conversation with my parents a few days ago, deciding it was ultimately safer for us to stay away from each other this holiday season. And if I'm being honest, it really sucks. The holidays have always been my favorite time of year. And yet, I feel like I have so much to be grateful for this year. And as a community, we have a lot to be grateful for. We can be grateful for the technology that allows us to continue to gather, technology that means we could be anywhere in the world and still have an opportunity to gather on Sunday mornings and throughout the week. As a staff, I know we all are grateful for each of you staying encouraged, staying connected, staying engaged. We're also so grateful for all of the new folks who have joined us, despite never stepping foot in our building. If that's you, we cannot wait to welcome you to our beautiful building. And if you're visiting with us this morning, welcome. We are grateful for you as well. You can let us know that you are here by filling out our visitors form on our website, which you can find a link to in the chat box. If you have any questions at all or want to know more about who we are and how to get involved, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. You can find my email in the chat box. And now I invite you to take another deep breath and join us as we explore what it means to be grateful in the midst of a year that might want us to be anything but.
Thank you, Kelly. If you couldn't see earlier because the screen was small, the black cloth behind me under the flowers, the lovely flower arrangements, Sue has placed a black cloth in honor of Native Americans who lost their lives when white people forcibly removed them from all across the eastern US and beyond, including our fair state of Ohio. So right now, I invite you to grab your candle and let us light our chalice together. Our chalice lighting words are from Albert Schweitzer. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. Our chalice is lit. I invite you now to join together as we sing our opening hymn, We Gather Together.
We gather together in joyful thanksgiving, acclaiming creation whose bounty we share. Both sorrow and gladness we find now in our living. We sing a hymn of praise to the life that we bear. We gather together to join in the journey, confirming, committing our passage to be a true affirmation in joy and tribulation, when bound to human care and hope, then we are free.
Oh, what a lovely piece of music to start the morning with. Good morning. I'm Amber Scott, your Director of Religious Exploration. Our Sunday school class for 7 to 12-year-olds, Peace Pals, and our Navigators Scouting Troop all meet online later today. Please check the chat box or email me for more information. For today's story, we are tuning in to Rocket Kids to think about what it means to be thankful. Their video is called Practicing Gratitude, and 10 things I'm grateful for.
Do you ever think about what you're thankful for? Well, you should. When we remind ourselves of all the things we are thankful for, great things come to us. On this episode of Rocket Kids, we talk about that, and I give you 10 things I am thankful for right now. I'm Aspen, and let's get this started. Being thankful is important. We can be thankful for our parents, our family, and our home. Being thankful is also called gratitude. It takes practice. When we can be grateful for the things in our lives, even the little things, we can begin to change the way we think. We can shift our thoughts away from what we think we are lacking to what we have in abundance. Yeah, we start to see how awesome everything is and how great life can be. Did you know that gratitude leads to happiness? Who doesn't like happiness? I know I do. So here are 10 things, big and small, I am grateful for right now. Trees. Yeah, trees. They give us oxygen to breathe, and when we breathe, we live. And living is a great thing. They bloom in the spring and make wonderful colors in the fall. Trees. Cake. Cake is good. It means it's your birthday, a special occasion, or maybe you're having cake just to have cake. All I know is cake is so good. Emojis. We can communicate with words, symbols, hand gestures, and facial expression, but nothing is as much fun as emojis. Sleep. There is nothing better than cozying up under the covers. I'm snuggled all tight. My hands have pulled the covers up under my chin. My head is resting on my favorite pillow. My mind thinks about all the awesome things that happened in my day. Then, off I go. Sleepy time. This leads to waking up. And that's next on my list. Mornings. Some people have a hard time getting up in the morning. But we should be grateful that we have the chance to do amazing things each and every day. So, get up and go do something awesome. Speaking of awesome. Ice cream? What's not to like about ice cream? I go to a place where you can mix your flavors and add everything from sprinkles to gummy bears. Who wouldn't be thankful for gummy bears on ice cream? Vacations. What's not to love about vacations? You get to go places, see things you've never seen before, spend time with your family, relax, have fun, make memories. Vacations. Good stuff. Kittens. They're funny, cuddly, and playful. If you've ever been around a kitten, you know what I'm talking about. Enough said, kittens are good. Nice people. Thank you, nice people. Thank you for not being mean. Let's all work to be a little nicer. And last but not least, high fives. Why high fives? We give high fives when something is going great or we did something extraordinary. And you need two people to high five. So you are sharing this awesome moment with someone else. This makes high-fiving fun, and I am grateful for high fives. So that's my list of 10 things, big and small, I am grateful for right now. Remember, gratitude takes practice. So make it a habit of thinking about all the things you are grateful for. What are you grateful for right now? Let us know by commenting on this video. We would love to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share so we can keep bringing you awesome videos. I'm Aspen, this is Rocket Kids, and remember to always be your best self.
As you think about Aspen's list of things to be grateful for, and you think about what you are thankful for, I invite you to reflect on the ways that our church community brings you blessings and happiness. Maybe a couple of those things are on your list too. And I can't wait until the day that I can safely give you all high fives again safely. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Amber, for sharing that wonderful video with us. Later in our time together, we will have our time of sharing joys and sorrows. I invite you now to use the chat box to type your full name and in 10 words or less, your sorrow or joy. Then select Send to Panelists. In the future, you are welcome to submit a request ahead of time on our website under Connections. This is also a place to ask to get in touch with you for pastoral care, request a caring card, or get support from our caring network. And now I invite you to join us in singing For All That Is Our Life.
For all that is alive, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is alive, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is alive, for all that is alive, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
I knew who it was as soon as I heard the voice. Pastor, Pastor, it's me, it's Janet. Look what I've got. As soon as I opened the door, the nervous energy of a person overexposed to the elements of the street rushed right in. Hi, Janet. How are you? I'm great, Pastor Marion. Look what I've got. Grinning from ear to ear, she had laid a box of heavily scented candles on my office table. With my allergies going crazy and kicking into high gear, I was caught between get those out of here and wow, that's quite a collection. With stuffy nose and watery eyes, I listened as Janet proudly showed me her treasures. Best part, I could buy one or more. She was raising money so she could have funds for dinner, to buy dinner that night. A few bus tickets and smelly candles later, Janet rushed out the door just as humbly and jumbly as she had entered. Janet was a familiar figure at church, at least to the weekday staff. We had seen her on good days and bad, often with long stretches in between. We were used to people who were experiencing homelessness hanging out around the church campus. Ben, an older teenager who had been kicked out of his home by his father, would sleep overnight on the bench upstairs on the main entryway porch. In the mornings, he would take the bus to school in a nearby town. Carl, a Vietnam vet, would rearrange the lawnmowers and sleep under the porch overhang where it was dry. And under another side of the building, Janet would store whatever she could keep for longer than a day under another wing so that it would stay dry. and out of sight. Now, as I prepare to move from a rental house to home ownership, I am keenly aware of my privilege. I packed boxes and boxes of belongings, all of which I've held on to much longer than Janet ever dreamed. I also have much more than Ben, who keeps all of his belongings in a locked Rubbermaid tub under the bench. And Carl just rolls up his sleeping bag and tucks it in a dry corner as he takes his dog for a stroll through the streets during the day. How can this discrepancy, this inequality, this unfairness exist? Is it arrogance or callousness on my part to rush into Thanksgiving? Now, I really didn't know Ben. He would settle onto the bench for the night just after everyone had left church for the day. He rose early, and only the school principal, who held classes in our sanctuary upstairs during the weekdays, would see him when she arrived at 6 a.m. She was our connection to Ben. And Carl, I only saw his sleeping bag most days, but I did have a talk with the neighbors who called the police every now and then in response to Carl's nightmares that left him screaming into the night. The first time I talked with the neighbors about this, I was surprised that they didn't call the cops out of fear, but instead wanting someone to help. Each call thereafter, the police would talk with Carl and check on his well-being. He was loud, but never a threat. And Janet, she also found our church to be a church home, even if she didn't sleep there. But our church became her go-to place for support and friendship. Now, it might sound as though the church was overrun with homeless people. It wasn't. It was just a normal course of business, the business of caring. I realized, though, it was a choice. As homelessness grew in the area, being pushed out from the nearby larger city, local supports were insufficient. We donated to the tent cities, but also provided crude housing for various people over the years. Church became home to a larger community than we ever knew. In seminary years ago, I went on a street retreat in the Tenderloin district of San Francisco. It was a street retreat sponsored by the Faithful Fools, whose mission was to provide immersive street experiences to increase understanding and lower the disconnect between the haves and have-nots. Walking the streets that day with a single bus ticket in my pocket, I ate lunch at the soup kitchen where a man kept eyeing my piece of chicken. Gonna eat all that? Gonna eat that chicken? Well, after a few forkfuls of green beans, I just gave him my plate. What belongs to you or me is temporary. From a chicken leg to belongings, you can't take anything with you in the end. And in the middle, it becomes a management problem, some finding more durability than others. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm attached to my belongings, much of which has been either functionally or creatively collected over the years. I have a lot of creature comforts, and I'm very thankful. I think a lot of us find ourselves in that situation as well. Beyond the stuff, though, and the larger issue of homelessness, which is appalling, I look to the actual people. I look at Janet. I remember one day when she came in and someone had given her a car. It was an old car, but it was a car and it ran. So Janet needed a driver's license. Being very precise, Janet had done her homework. $42.50, plus one bus ticket to get her to the Department of Motor Vehicles. I usually don't give out cash, but for Janet, I had learned that she would bring back not only the receipt, but also the change. A few days later, she pranced into the office waving a brand new driver's license. She was so happy and proud and filled with joy. On this and so many days, Janet showed what true joy was all about. Yes, her life was hard, but she had won hard victories as well. As she came to her adopted church home, her adopted church family, to share that joy. Now, I don't want to trade my belongings for a roller bag that gets left or stolen at the bus stop, like so often happened to Janet. But I also don't want to downsize to a plastic tub like Ben's. And I don't want to overnight in a sleeping bag like Carl because I have no other choice. What the street retreat in the Tenderloin taught me, along with the lived work experience of the Carls, Bens, and Janets over the years, is that survival is a risky business. However, joy is equal opportunity. There are a lot more stories where these come from, and I could share them with you all day long, and I'm sure you have stories of your own as well. Galen Gingrich, senior minister at All Souls Church in New York City, ends the service each week by saying, "This is the day we've been given. Rejoice and be glad in it." Janet, along with Ben and Carl, taught me that each day, each moment is hard-won and precious. Their joy doesn't come from long-range planning, grand schemes beyond selling candles, smelly candles for dinner, or even boxes and boxes of belongings. If there is to be joy, they find it in the moment, with those they are with, or even when they are alone. What happened to these people? We were able to connect Ben with resources, and eventually he found stable housing. Carl wandered off one day with his dog in tow. But Janet, well, just as I was leaving that church for another church, she had graduated from community college while commuting from the streets. And she had her very first job interview the next day. A couple of church women from her adopted church home, our church, took her to Goodwill for some new clothes and to a hairdresser for a trim. And I think as a bonus, if I remember correctly, they even took her and had her nails done. She stopped by the office just before I left. And I can still see her beaming, her smile just crossing her face from ear to ear from joy that rose deep from inside. I usually think joy comes from some spot in the center, from your heart, from your soul. But I think Janet's joy actually started at her feet, at her toes, at her grounding, and just bubbled all the way up through her body. We should all be so lucky. Now, this Thanksgiving, some of us are not in the place where we are used to being on Thanksgiving. We are not with families or friends beyond our protective pandemic bubble. Most of us are not on the streets either, and we do have belongings that will be with us for more than a day. These are blessings too. But that hole that sits in our hearts and the empty chair or chairs at the dining room table, I invite you to remember in that time when you're thinking of all of this, experiencing all of this, Carve out a space to think of Janet and be in the moment. What joy comes from the victory of just being alive? What victories come when you have enough to eat, enough to prepare Thanksgiving dinner without selling or hawking smelly candles? And what love comes from experiencing an expanded view of what it means to be family. Every Thanksgiving will not be in a pandemic, thank goodness. Hopefully, this will never happen again in our lifetimes, or hopefully even beyond that. This is hard. As uncomfortable and sad as it is, I invite you to do something. I invite you to light a chalice candle at home every day this week and name at least 3 things for which you are thankful. As you light your candle, hold space for Ben, for Carl, for Janet. As you light your candle, feel the love for your family, friends, and loved ones, and offer prayers of thanksgiving for your church family, as well as we hold each other and all those who call our church home. Hold everyone in your light, in your love. Reimagine Thanksgiving by being present in the moment and offer gratitude for what you have here and now. Gratitude is a choice. You can take another route, but a heart filled with gratitude is much more likely to find joy. Write down your blessings all week. Yeah, writing exercise. Write down your blessings all week. Keep it going. Keep it going till Christmas if you like. Make it a life-changing habit. Who knows? Wouldn't it be great if we all reimagined our days, including our holidays, as the gifts they are? Wouldn't that be amazing? I go back to Reverend Gingrich's saying, this is the day we are given. Rejoice and be glad in it. My friends, happy Thanksgiving wherever you are. Find ways to express your gratitude. Be present in the moment and fill your heart with love. Blessed be, and amen. I invite you now to sing, "We Are Not Our Own."
We are not our own, earth forms us, human leaves on nature's growing vine, fruit of many generations, seeds of life divine. We are not alone, earth names us, past and present, peoples near and far,
As we reflect on how to expand our circle of care this Thanksgiving, I invite you to consider what gifts you plan to give this year. First UU is a church that matters. It is in the foundation of our being to love, to care, and to be generous. We know this world is a long way from being fair to all people. It takes all of us to make it better. To offer our gifts and pay our promised pledges is to say to ourselves and the world that we are defined by our hearts and our deeper values. Our Share the Plate recipient for November is NEMAP Food Pantry, a nonprofit who distributes food and other resources to Columbus residents living at or below 200% of the federal poverty level. Their mission is to be a leader in food access to create a hunger-free community. They also offer food delivery for those not able to safely leave their homes during the pandemic. The offering that helps build a better world and a better church will now be gratefully received. You can donate online on our website, text to give, bank by mail, or write a check and mail it in. Thank you for your generosity.
Wow, thank you so much, Nathan. Now I invite you all in our time of meditation to get comfortable in your chairs. And we'll take a deep breath together. As I read our meditation for this morning entitled The Deep Well of Appreciation by Marta Valentine. To rise each morning with the faint glow of starlight on our backs as we head into the joys, the surprises, the challenges of each day, sometimes with awe and wonder, perhaps expectation, perhaps dread. To rise each day peering over water lines, sandbags, walls, garbage bunkers, in wind-swept deserts and streets lined with sweet-smelling olive trees alike. What a gift we are given when we can rise in freedom of some sort, to some degree. This year, for once, for one honest moment, let us forgive our ancestors for the real and true roots from which the Thanksgiving ritual emerged. Let us acknowledge the less than honorable circumstances that created the original table of abundance that North Americans attempt to recreate each year. Let us acknowledge and forgive each other and ourselves for perpetuating inaccurate history. For how can we be truly grateful if we do not? We rise with you, Spirit of truth and justice, to stroll through all the many gardens of gratitude, inhaling the crystal clear air of freedoms attained through rough and tumble avenues of debate and destruction. This year, in solidarity, let the hands across North America reach toward each other's hearts to feel the pulse that has longed for centuries to beat as one, whole, spirit-filled and graceful, swimming in the river of thankfulness for the clarity such intentions provide. This year, let us give not until it hurts, but until we can look in the mirror and know that we are reaching profoundly into the wells of gratitude, know that we are sitting in the pure joy of it, tearfully acknowledging the gift to rise each day and make bread or beds, give smiles, elicit laughter, cross the line that is personal space to meet in the circle that is a hug. Spirit of compassion, you know that if we were never to give thanks, these gifts would still abound. You know we would rise and walk in the dark of emptiness, missing completely the air of humanity, the beingness that is grounded in the awareness, the age-old knowledge that we are all one and together create the one. This year, let us commit to always rise above wherever it is we find ourselves. Let us give thanks for the interdependent web that brought food to our tables, for the spirits that gave of themselves so that we might eat, for the bended backs that labored in the hot sun, and all the carriers that reached their destinations. In this rich well of appreciation, let us stretch our hand across the table of abundance, pressing lifeline against lifeline, giving thanks that we can do so, and gently holding in our hearts those who cannot and could not from the beginning. Spirit of our deepest desires this year, let us commit to truly rising as one Unitarian Universalist voice, working for and loving all of humanity. Amen. Blessed be. This morning, we have one caring card. We send our loving thoughts to Laurel R., whose husband Ernest died on November 15th in hospice care. He died peacefully, after a lengthy illness of Lewy body's dementia. Laurel is not taking calls right now, but appreciates being held in our thoughts. And this is what you brought forward this morning. Michaela shares, my mother and stepfather now have COVID, and I am worried about my mom because of her underlying health conditions. Carrie Ann W. says, please send healing thoughts and vibes to my brother-in-law in South Lebanon, Ohio, who was admitted to the hospital this week with COVID. He has a pre-existing heart condition, which makes him higher risk. Diane S. shares, my nephew contracted COVID-19 and transcended Alzheimer's disease on Thursday. Kathy O. shares, my 94-year-old uncle died in his sleep last week in Florida. Dennis F. shares, a coworker and friend has been absent, presumably because of illness. Brian H. shares, my mother, who has a longer recovery than expected, moved from hospital to nursing care for now, hoping she will be able to return to her home soon, but worried about her isolation until then. Betsy S. shares, grateful to be recovering from knee replacement surgery. Sue F. shares a joy during this time of isolation is relishing ordinary and even boring conversations. And Yvonne M. shares, my granddaughter Casey and her partner Erica were married yesterday. Thank you for sharing all of that and all that remains in our hearts. And now, as Reverend Marian rings our temple bell, I invite you to use the time of silence to start thinking about the blessings you may be putting on that list for today.
Thank you, Karen. That was lovely. Thank you so much. We are all grateful. For our benediction this morning, I share these words from Reverend Sean Parker Dennison from his book, Breaking and Blessing Meditations. At this moment of an ending, may there be a good word, a blessing, to help us remember what we have so far forgotten. May the message we need be gently spoken and held in the spaces in our cells, the fibers that hold all we need to maintain our gentleness, our courage, and our hope. At this moment of ending, may the goodness we wish for ourselves and each other, this community, ecosystem, planet, and stardust galaxy, become such a part of us that we cannot tell where the blessing ends and we begin. My friends, I invite you now to sing together once more. We will sing, We Give Thanks. We will sing it twice through. Consider this a thanksgiving for this day, here, now, but also a blessing that carries you through all of Thanksgiving.
Give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. We give thanks for this precious day. We give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. We give thanks for this precious day.
And a special gift for you just because it's Thanksgiving. May you all have plenty to eat, and may we all think of family and loved ones and our church community as we hold each other in love and care. Amen. I invite you now to find your candle, your chalice, and either your breath or an extinguisher, a snuffer. As we extinguish our chalice together, I will share our screen so we can see the words and say them together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of vision. As we go forth, let us heal and transform ourselves and our world through reason and love. Our chalice is extinguished.
A few closing announcements this morning. I would like to remind you about our conversations on race on Monday evenings from 7 to 8:15 p.m. We are wrapping up soon our discussion of the Unitarian Universalist Commission on Institutional Changes report. You can refer to our Friday news emails for more information on that. And I also wanted to let you know that there will be a special Thanksgiving Day surprise coming in your inboxes Thursday morning. You will find a short extra Thanksgiving service from your First UU staff arriving Thursday morning. So if you'd like to be sure that you are on our email list, please send me an email and I will get you that email for sure. And everyone is invited to coffee hour after this service. After the postlude, you can go ahead and click the link posted in the chat, grab your coffee, tea, water, and then head back into Zoom. A reminder that the passcode is lowercase UU. And coffee hour will go live in just a few minutes once your worship team is able to relocate virtually.
Every week, and this week in particular, we express our gratitude. Special thanks to everyone who made today's worship service possible. We could not have done it without you. Thank you to Sue Farnlacher for the lovely floral arrangement on the chancel. And thanks to Angela Rupert and John Muir for tech support. Thank you to our musicians, including the special vocal piece from Karen Timmis. And thanks to Brandon Moss, our Director of Music and Chalice Choir Director, Michaela Jones-Brown, our Spirit of Life Choir Director, and Nathan Ham, our pianist. And thank you to our ministry team, including myself, Amanda Hayes, our Justice Coordinator, Kelly McNeil, our Director of Congregational Life, Isabel Call, our Assistant Minister of Pastoral Care, and our Senior Minister, Reverend Dr. Marion Stewart.
Thank you, Nathan, and thank you for everyone for coming to our Sunday service online. I leave you with this practice for Thanksgiving. You can take it with you for Thanksgiving. You can start practicing today. You can also talk about it in coffee hour, along with all the things you're grateful for. Here's the practice. Light your chalice candle. Find 3 things each day for which you are grateful, and meditate on your internal joy in this day, this moment, here, now, and say, Amen. My friends, have a wonderful Thanksgiving wherever you are, and whoever is or isn't at your table. For this day is a day we have been given. Rejoice and be glad in it. See you at coffee hour.